Welcome back, time to Newcomers Alike, to another episode of Apollo Justice. Last episode we saw a very interesting witness in this first trial of Case 2, and now we're about to see another one. Let's continue. Started?
Well, we've had enough of a warm-up act, yeah. Time to hear from the witness.
Rocky sure is quiet all of a sudden.
I'm a little uneasy myself. Is this Gavin's strategy? Ah! Kill it with fire again!
So, you will tell us your name and occupation.
I don't even want to know about this guy. He's an obvious creeper.
My name is Wesley Stickler. By occupation, I take it you refer to some labor that profits society at large and supports a livelihood, under which definition I must confess to being unemployed. However, we must acknowledge the meaning of identity, which is commonly attached to the notion of occupation, and once we have accepted this reality, we see that our confusion is not just thought per se, but derives instead from the vagueness inherent in all representations of the...
But, by which he means to say that he's a student.
God, how many times have I had to say kill it with fire the last two episodes? This is ridiculous, these characters.
Junior at Ivy University, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, in the Department of Science and Engineering. Filled with a curiosity for all things, I spend my days in pursuit of truth, honing my...
As Stickler, please direct said curiosity to the case at hand today.
Very well, Mr. Stickler. Please testify to the court about what you saw on the night of the crime before the beard kills you with fire.
You ask quite simplistically what I saw. However, we must understand that the Homo sapiens possess two eyes, each of these designed to receive and interpret data, sending images in the form of signals to the brain.
Much deserving of a blackout. A night in the park.
That night, I passed through the park on my way home from shopping, when I saw them. One man pulling a stand, the other man facing him. I saw them quite clearly. The man facing the victim was the defendant. In his hand he held, yes, a pistol. It was pointed at the man pulling the stand. A shot! The bullet hit the man pulling the stand from the front, square in the forehead.
Wow, there are so many contradictions in that. Was there anyone else in the park at the time?
I can say with 100% accuracy that there was not.
Okay, your testimony's like Swiss cheese, dude. I'm gonna have easy time with this one.
The pistol our witness refers to is this.
The court accepts this into evidence. Pistol added to the court record. Very well, Mr. Justice, you may cross-examine the witness. Yes, Your Honor. Trucy? Why are you staring like that at the witness?
That man. I can't help but feel I've seen him somewhere before.
A night in the park. Alright, so let's get straight to the contradictions here. One of them was the fact that he said in his hand he held a pistol when it was probably the knife, considering it had Walkie's fingerprints on it. Also, the man did not get shot in the forehead, he got shot in the temple. Read the autopsy report, you idiot. Whew, if that's all of it, I think I have a chance. Seriously, man, that thing is Swiss cheese.
Is that you relaxing, I see, Air Justice?
Huh? Oh, objection! Once is quite enough, Mr. Justice.
Apollo, pace yourself. This trial's not over yet.
Yeah, right. Look at this. The autopsy report? Is there a problem with the autopsy report? Right, a problem. Problem. Yes! The problem is the location of the entry wound. The location? You testified that the killer shot the victim square in the forehead, did you not?
Ah, I have already determined your angle of inquiry.
You're not funny.
Allow me to explain. It is quite simple, really. First, understand that when I say square, I speak not of the geometrical absolute. What I do mean by this, for example, is math, the wavelength of the light emitted by a krypton particle, as well known In addition, it is well known the fact that the krypton particles are rare and invisible to the naked eye, which points to the basic fallacy in your line of reasoning, namely with the...
Mr. Justice! Yes? Was your objection to those, krypton particle thingamabobber doodads?
This is the big time, and you're obsessed with something so small. Oh, you disappoint me.
That's what she said. Oh, wait. No, I'm obsessed with something big. That's what she said. I mean, there's a bigger, less nitpicky problem here. Do tell. Just look at the autopsy report. The location of the entry wound was... the Wright temple!
Temple?
Mr. Stickler, you said quite clearly the victim was shot square in the forehead. That's a contradiction. Isn't it? Alright, getting those back to notice. Is it right? Finally!
Objection. Air justice. Oh, air justice.
Yes?
Your tactics are outdated. You're trying to shake the witness by objecting to trifles. Surely you haven't forgotten the fatal wound your master suffered 7 years ago. Phoenix Wright, was it?
Look, I know the wound was in the wrong place according to the testimony.
Yeah, look.
Hey, air forehead.
Forehead?
Let us imagine you are walking through the park. You see two men facing each other, one with a pistol trained on the other. What would you do, air forehead?
Well, I guess I would try to stop them. I'd probably shout, "Stop!"
And you, Fräulein?
Me? Well, I'd probably scream, "Eek!"
And you, air Stickler, what did you shout, I wonder?
Ah! If the victim turned his head at the last moment... Duh.
Ah, yes. Thank you for jogging my memory.
It sounds like an addendum to the testimony is required. A Night in the Park version 2.
As soon as the killer raised his pistol, I took action. "Cease this at once, you two!" I cried with composure. The victim turned in the direction of my voice, and a shot rang out. Whereupon our cowardly killer, the defendant, appeared to have become frightened. Tossing the pistol aside, he fled from the scene.
I see. So you attempted to stop the crime.
Indeed. With composure.
Well, maybe the criminal wouldn't have fired if he hadn't shouted like that.
That doesn't really matter now, unfortunately.
Let us consider this new testimony, shall we? Observe the diagram if you will. The witness, Mr. Stickler, was it, stood here. He shouted, "All stop, please," or something of this nature. And the victim responded by looking in the witness's direction. If the killer were to have fired at just that moment, as we can see, the bullet would have struck the right temple as in the report.
That does seem to be the case.
Witness the power of a junior in Ivy University's Department of Science.
Science! Very well, Mr. Justice. You may cross-examine the witness. A Night in the Park version 2. Alright, what do we got here? As soon as the killer raised his pistol, I took action. Cease this at once, you two. With composure, the victim turned in the direction of my voice, and a shot rang out. Whereupon, our cowardly killer, the defendant, appeared to have become frightened. Tossing the pistol aside, he fled from the scene. That was not a pistol. It was a knife. You freaking idiot. Okay, so it's too early for that probably, but I'll press it anyhow. You didn't try to apprehend the criminal?
It all happened so fast, I'm afraid I hadn't the time.
Doesn't something about that strike you as odd, Apollo?
What?
The killer was in a hurry, right? He fired the pistol and tossed it right away.
According to the testimony, that's what happened, yes?
In that case, I'd expect to find something that we didn't find.
Find something? Find what?
I liked that contradiction. Kinda sad to see it go.
Not as sad as I feel. What do we do now?
At least the testimony is getting a little clearer.
She's right. Maybe I can find something to use in this new testimony. Which means we're supposed to press everything, right? Okay, ceases at once, press. Are you sure both men were able to hear your voice?
There they were, of course. My high, exquisite voice echoed through the park.
And the victim responded to that clarion call.
Quite.
Okay, a shot rang out. Press my giggles. Alright. Did you hear the gunshot at the same time as the victim turned?
Indeed. I would say about the same time, to be precise.
About the same time, to be precise? That's a contradiction, you idiot. And the victim didn't ask you for help?
It can't be said that he didn't have time to ask. He didn't even have time to take a single step.
I'm totally sure that the killer fired because Mr. Stickler startled him.
Don't say that too loud, Trucy, please! He appeared to have become frightened. Let's press that too. We gotta get something out of this testimony. Can you describe the killer's actions more clearly?
He seemed quite surprised, especially considering that it was he who did the deed. As we can see, human psychology is a tangled web indeed.
He simply couldn't believe what he had done. He shot, he panicked. A common tale, but true.
Unfortunately, before I could take further action...
So we've already pressed everything, haven't we? Can I skip this? Yes, I've already pressed this. So it's a contradiction then, so they tricked me. Okay. Unless I'm supposed to press the first one. Press. So you saw a raised pistol. Weren't you frightened?
Like, it can be said we students of Ivy University know no fear. The moment I saw that pistol, my inner sense of justice compelled me to take action.
Well, that was certainly brave of you. You might have gotten shot.
Eh?
You certainly were lucky. If I were in the killer's shoes, I certainly wouldn't have left a witness behind.
He actually looks like he had no idea he was in danger.
Regardless, I attempted to halt the bloodshed.
Okay, ceases at once. You two, I cried with composure. Okay, is this where we present the knife? No? When do we present the knife, then? Okay, as soon as the killer raised the pistol, I took action. Let's see. 2 rounds were fired. Fingerprints were wiped. Victim shot. A shot rang out. Okay, I should have looked at the pistol closer. It says a shot. There were 2 shots. No? What? Come on, that is a total contradiction. Alright. 2 rounds were fired. Ah, maybe it's this one we're supposed to present the gun at. Let's see. Finally! Good lord. Wait a second.
Disc. Another misleading request. Yet you're so beholden onto your own model of discourse, you can't see how it affects you.
So basically, I was so obsessed with utilizing the knife, because it could have been used so much in that testimony, that I forgot about the gun. Come again?
Wait a second, you say. A second? Are we intended to just wait that? A single second? 1/60th of a minute? That's hardly enough time to draw a breath, let alone make a statement in court. Now, had you asked for a longer period of time, say 3 minutes 35 seconds, that...
Mr. Justice! Yes, Your Honor? Am I to understand you are objecting to the length of a second? Yes, I mean, no! Here, just look at this pistol! Doesn't have a single fingerprint on it.
Ah, a common ploy, made all the more common, I fear, by the prevalence of the television. Criminals these days are loath to leave fingerprints.
Wait, but you said the killer tossed the gun and ran.
That's right! He didn't have time to wipe the gun for Prince.
Oh yeah, Trucy's got it.
Ah, the little girl sticking it to the university student. There's a song in there.
I'm not little!
Then let's think like adults, shall we, Fräulein? What if the killer, the defendant, was wearing gloves?
Gotta admit, I didn't think of that, Apollo.
Oh, come on, Trucy. They use this gloves thing in at least one case in every Phoenix Wright game. Come on. Well, Mr. Justice, could the killer have been wearing gloves? That's hard to say, but I'm gonna go with no way. The record of the murder weapon is very clear about one thing. The fingerprints were wiped, which means some trace of prints remained, which contradicts your testimony. If everything happened as you say it did, he wouldn't have had time to wipe the pistol. Obviously, we're wrong.
That may be, but it does not change what I saw. The killer. The defendant.
Or am
He
I?
threw down the murderer's weapon from his hand and fled. And this pistol was found at the scene of the crime. Strongly suggesting that this was the weapon he disposed of.
That sounds solid to me. Well, forehead, any of your precious objections?
Okay, that was wrong. I guess. If he was wearing gloves, there wouldn't be prints. Come on, Justice, you've got to come up with something. Is there something you want to tell the court, Mr. Justice?
His silence speaks louder than words, our judge. He can think of nothing. 9.
I guess he could have been wearing gloves. I guess. Then let's continue with the testimony, if you would.
My pleasure, Your Honor. A small pleasure, but still.
Okay, so we were supposed to do the other one. God dang it. Okay, alright. I get the point. Come on, let's go. I already went through this. Okay, so I probably should have continued with that last line of dialogue before, I think, because I think that was what I was supposed to do.
What gives, Apollo? Let's see that voice training go to work.
You know, I've only recently realized something. No matter how much you train your voice, it doesn't matter if you have nothing to say.
What do you mean, nothing to say? Isn't it obvious from what the witness just said?
Huh? Isn't what obvious?
When he restated what he saw just now, he said he saw Waki drop a murderous weapon.
Okay, are we finally gonna get the chance to use the knife here?
But that's not the same as being 100% sure of what Waki threw away.
You're right. You're a genius, Trucy.
He's just confused because the pistol was found at the scene. Poor Mr. Stickler. It must be so hard to be so perfect and yet so wrong.
Owned.
Well, I can't be said that I'm quite offended.
Look at his eyes. Holy crap, that's like the stuff of nightmares.
Well, it is indeed true that once in my youth I wrote a blah 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 whine.
What we can say for certain is that the witness saw the killer throw something. Shut up, Stickler. Nobody likes your rants. Stickler's like this game's old bag, almost. Does the defense have anything to say about this?
Well, if what he threw wasn't a pistol...
then it had to be something else.
At least one person on the defense team seems to be thinking.
I'll wipe that smile off your pretty face, Gavin. Perhaps you can inform the court as to the nature of this something else? What did the killer throw away before fleeing the scene? Panties! Just kidding. It was the knife! Is that a sword? I saw one of those on the late-night movie last night. Great, a sleep-deprived judge. The beard needs his beauty rest, okay? This knife was found at the scene of the crime, with the defendant's prints on it. His prints! This single piece of evidence proves two important things. One, that what the defendant threw down wasn't a pistol. Two, that the defendant wasn't wearing gloves. Indeed.
Oh, our forehead. You're forgetting two other things you've just proven.
Huh?
One, that the man the witness saw the defendant, Mr. Walkie-Kitaki. 2, that the defendant was holding a knife with the intent of harming the victim.
Ah! Indeed! Never underestimate a Gavin is the lesson here. This court is of the opinion that our witness is fond of making assumptions. In that light, I believe it would behoove us to hear about what really occurred. With less assuming, please.
It is always the same with you people.
You know what's sad about characters like this? Rule 42. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Mark left the house on foot, and 5 minutes later his brother left after him. How long would it take for Mark's brother to catch up to him? Assuming that Mark never had to stop for a traffic light. Assuming. Yes, that's what I said. Assuming. As if that were a probable situation at all. Yet, here you are assuming that my assumption is no better.
What this court assumes is that the witness will testify, so what happened after the shot was fired? From shot to call.
I could not prevent the killer from leaving the scene. Nor could I simply leave the scene in good conscience. Ergo, I used my cell phone to call the police. Until the police arrived at the scene, 10 minutes later I saw no one else.
Wonder what's in this testimony. Why didn't you chase the killer?
He was, as you say, a killer. Of course I could have run him down. Yet what would he have done now when cornered?
He actually has a point there.
Sadly, it takes more than an aptitude for solving quadratic equations to know that.
Did the testimony earlier not prove the defendant's presence at the scene? And do we not also know now that there was no one else there? It seems clear that we have a killer. But does it not?
Does it not, Mr. Justice? I'd better find a way to take this testimony down quick. So I shall. From shot to call. Oh yeah. I could not prevent the killer from leaving the scene, nor could I simply leave the scene in good conscience. Ergo, I used my cell phone to call the police. Ah! I wonder if this pink thingy is his. Wonder if we can present that here. No? Okay, let's press it then. Was it your first thought to call an ambulance?
It can be said that I have dabbled in medicine. The injury I witnessed, namely a single shot to the head, tends to result in death.
No!
Ergo, there was no need for me to call an ambulance. Oh, a perfect syllogism. A proof in 3 parts, exquisite, simply exquisite.
He actually looks like he's going to cry. So the police arrived at the scene 10 minutes later and I saw no one else. I wonder what how do I contradict the time frame there? Let's see here. Not with that. Okay, police arrived at the scene 10 minutes later. Let's see here. Noodle stand. Why don't we press this? This one's hard, actually. Can you tell us in detail about these 10 minutes?
I stood in a state of heightened awareness. Anything could happen at any moment. Anyone could appear from any direction.
Is that all?
No one came. Nothing happened at all. I saw it all, which is to say, I saw nothing.
It was late at night. It's not odd to think there would be few people around in the park. So he just stood there watching? Huh, not much to go on there. Trucy, if you've got something to say, by all means say it. This witness is way too self-assured. There's got to be a weakness somewhere in his testimony. Geez, Trucy's staying silent here, isn't she? Nor could I simply leave. Okay, press. You were certainly composed for someone who had just witnessed a killing.
If one is to devote one's life to the pursuit of science, one must never flinch at the sight of little blood. nor be so moved by a chemical discovery that one drops one's flask upon the lab room floor.
Ooh, cool answer. Very cool.
No, Klavier. No, it's not. Huh. So nothing strange about how he acted. Trucy looks like she has something to say. Why don't we ask Trucy then? Okay, okay, so we already pressed that. Let's just press everything. We pressed that already. Okay, did we press the first one? Which way did the killer run?
By that time, it was clear that the killer had noticed me. Naturally, he ran in the opposite direction.
That would mean he ran in the opposite direction from the Kitaki mansion.
Ah, Toon. Don't even think about pointing out that he was going away from his home. All he had to do was loop back once he was out of sight.
Nah. How did he know that's where I was going? Ah! I can't find a single problem with that testimony. I knew we were supposed to press everything. Just one of those.
Had enough at last, Air Forehead?
Maybe it's time to back off a bit. No! The defense still has some questions that demand answers, Your Honor. Your opinion, Prosecutor Gavin?
Or let him play attorney until he's satisfied, I say. I will amuse myself by composing my next smash hit in my head.
Very well. You may continue with the cross-examination. Oh, crap. Okay, so we really weren't supposed to keep going with that, apparently. That's fine. Maybe there isn't anything left to unravel in this testimony after all.
Some of us have glamorous careers we'd like to get back to this month's Air Forehead.
Yes, the beard really likes his barbershop career. They don't have enough to put Walkie away yet. Should I back off for now? Yes. There's nothing fishy about that testimony at all. It appears there are no objections to the witness's current testimony.
There are a number of ways to explain the lack of prints on the pistol, I assure you. Perhaps the killer really was wearing gloves which wiped previous users' prints off. Then, after the deed was done, this fell out of his pocket as he was throwing the gun away. A mistake befitting of a small-time punk, in my opinion.
No! No! It seems we've come to the end of the line here. No! It can't be all!
How unfortunate. It seems that you weren't cut out to stand on the same stage as me. Were you, Air Forehead?
I believe this brings the cross-examination to a close. This court will now declare a verdict for the defendant, Walkie Kitaki. Yes! Who just screamed? Whoa! Hello! Trucy!
Nobody move!
What's the meaning of this? Who are you?
There'll be no verdict in this court. Not yet.
Wait, are you one of the Kitakis? The Kitakis? You mean the notorious gangsters?
If you don't want to see me give the pretty little girl a new smile, do as I say. Adjourn the court for 20 minutes.
Good lord! What? This court will not bow to the pressure from the likes of...
Judge. I see little point in further aggravating this gentleman.
Recess, 20 minutes, or I promise you you'll regret it.
Wait! How did he disappear so fast? What the crap?
Come to the defendant lobby, Apollo.